All right.
Hey, hello, well met. Welcome to the
Hey.
Isekai Realms. Hey, we are pre-recording this session, so all of this is taking place in the past, except it's the present for us, and that's exciting. Much like this game, I am Eric
What
Scott
a
B,
crazy.
a
Sorry.
player in this game. I'm a warrior or a paladin, I don't know, but my name is Elric Thalavar, and here I am to try and do good. Take it away, Allie.
Hi, everybody. I am Alexandra Pitchford, or Allie for short. I am a writer, game designer, and TTRPG streamer, and I'm playing, well, me, but also Amara Valerian. That's the name I decided to go with. But today, I wanted to also take a sec to tell you about one of our sponsors, and that would be Idle Champions. Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms is a strategy game that unites iconic Dungeons and Dragons characters from novels, campaigns, and popular shows into one epic adventure, including Farida, Havilar, and Mehen from the Brimstone Angels novels. The game is available for PC and Mac on Steam and Web, Epic Game Store, Google Play, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, iPad, iPhone, and on all Android devices. Insert blurb about some seasonal event here because we're recording this in the past. It doesn't. No. Anyway, for more information, check out idlechampions.com.
I'm sure it's something cool. They always have
It's
cool
something.
things
Oh yeah,
going on.
it's something cool.
I'm Rhiannon Held. I write urban fantasy is Rhiannon Held, and space opera is RZ Held. My space opera series of novellas is now complete, so if you like snarky AI, carbon composite wings, emotional support cats, all kinds of cool adventure and romance, check that out. It's the Amsterdam Institute series. And I have two other partners to tell you about. Norse Foundry specializes in metal dice. When you roll them, it feels like you are skillfully smashing the rigid armor of the monster horde. They also offer other gaming accessories, and you can find their store and more about them at norsefoundry.com. Phoenix Dice is named for the creature that rises from the ashes because they use all recycled materials. You can find their dice and accessories at phoenixdice.com.
Hi, I'm Randy Henderson, playing Randonius, and yeah, that's me.
Hello, everybody. I'm Joel Everett. I am usually one of your mods in chat. Under Rumpus Imperator. Today I am playing Joel the Dwarf, apparently.
And
Chris?
we have our illustrious DM.
Hello, thank you. Welcome back. While this is a bit of a time-traveling adventure, so as you note, we're operating in the past, but it has also been a little bit of a gap since the last time we played, and I brought you all up to speed before we started, but there are a couple things I'll mention before we begin the actual gameplay tonight, and that is that you are all at Briar House in the past of the Westgate Irregulars. Your hostess is Jamal, the thespian. She is the leader of a ragtag band of guerrilla street performers here in Westgate, and she's seen fit to put you up as you arrived in her house in a bit of a desperate strait in the middle of the night last night, fleeing from the sewers and some trouble that you'd gotten yourselves into there and in the streets nearby. You discussed a bit with her yesterday. You're in the midst of discussing even more with her this morning. And you, during your sleep last night, received an assortment of visions and or dreams, some of which resulted in some changes to members of the group. Allie, as you mentioned, you are now a moon elf. And Joel, as you mentioned, you are now a... are you a shield dwarf? I don't know. You'd probably want to ask a dwarf. But you are, nevertheless, a dwarf. Everyone else is as they were when they went to sleep, and you're kind of dressed in a eclectic mix of stuff you've stolen from the overflowing costume closets upstairs, and bits of what you were wearing when you arrived a scant 24 hours or so ago. Believe it or not, it really has only been about a day. A lot has occurred in that time frame since you arrived. And when last we left our heroes, Eric and Allie were going to the door to see who was knocking upon it. And it turned out when you opened the little slider in the door and looked down, you had to actually look reasonably far down, that there was a halfling gentleman, about tall, thin, so probably a tall fellow halfling, about 4 feet tall, which is very tall for a halfling. Slightly elven feel. So maybe it admixed with elven blood. Sky blue eyes, long hair pulled back with copious brown with copious gray in it, a neatly trimmed beard, dressed well in shades of yellow, brown, tan, and vibrant greens of vest, with a mandolin slung over his shoulder, and a cape, a half cape, and a symbol, which is probably a holy symbol of some sort, hung around his neck, which is a harp, sort of a white harp on a gray field, which surprisingly enough, or not surprisingly enough, matches the holy symbol that is posted above the doors, the front doors of Briar House. That individual had not yet introduced himself when we paused at the end of the last session. So Eric, we will pick up with you saying something to your new guest.
Hail. Make yourself welcome. What is your name, good sir?
Hail and well met. I'm out on the street, so I'm not sure how welcome I am yet, but I hope to make it inside. My name is Finnan. The H is silent. Russ Kettle.
And are you a friend of the mistress?
I'm a friend of the mistress. But I've also been sent here. Well, sent might be... I'm on a mission.
And I have your word that you mean no violence to anyone in within?
Look at me, lad. Do you think I could do great violence to you? I
Looks
can
can
only
be
see your
deceiving,
eyes,
sir.
but I have a sense of your height.
Well, I see that you have an impressive height yourself.
For a tall fellow, yes. My mother was a tall woman. My father even taller.
I did notice that you avoided the conversation and the question, however.
If what you're seeking from me, lad, is a promise that I will do no violence in that house, you have that promise for me. On Finder.
Excellent. I open the door.
Okay, very well. Everyone else can now sort of see out, because you're in a position where you at least, I guess you can't probably have a view of the front door, but you know that it's being opened. And so you'll hear that. And Allie, you and Eric are now standing face to face-ish with a tall halfling, short human, I guess is how you would describe. He'll sketch a little bow and enter if you don't stop him.
Yeah, I'll step aside.
He's
Okay.
like face to stomach with me. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to step out of the way.
Very well. He'll step inside. He moves with a reasonable degree of grace. He is shoeless, as you might expect from a halfling. He has a pack strewn over his back that looks fairly road-worn, so this is a fellow who's familiar with the dust of the road, probably a wanderer of sorts. And he will touch the symbol that is wearing around his neck and mutter some words of prayer when he notices the symbol above the door. And he will say, Olive would be pleased. The mistress of the house, if you'd be so kind?
Of course.
Yes, right this way.
Okay. He will fall in behind you. Meanwhile, sitting in the sort of like sunroom next to the garden, which is like a kitchen, for want of a better term, or a kitchenette because the actual food is getting cooked someplace else, is the rest of the group. I believe you were making pleasant small talk with Jamal when we left you. You have the babies. Someone was feeding them. I do not presently recollect who.
Randy.
Randy.
Randy, you've been baby feeding nominated. I hope you're happy.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough.
Voluntold.
that is your lot in life. So you'll be sitting there when your two friends and their new friend return. You'll be a little surprised, Randy, to see the spitting image of the individual who was in your dream last night standing in front of you. A little taller than you remember him in the dream, but this seems right otherwise. And he will sketch out a little bow to the mistress of the house and say, Olive sends her regards. That seems to have a fairly positive effect on Jamal. And she will say, you know Olive? No, Olive. I more than know Olive, my lady. I, however, am here to be what assistance I can. I'm here on a bit of a mission. Serving two ladies. Repaying a debt? I see. And your name, good sir? Finnan Wanderwhistle. The H is silent. He will say, "Well, please, you look hungry. Would you care for some feast? It is, after all, midsummer." "Thank you." And he'll begin tearing into the food. What do the rest of you want to do?
Could we hear the conversation at the front door from where we were?
Roll percentile dice, Joel.
Because he gave 2 different last names.
That's
Yeah.
true.
13.
Okay, yes, as a matter of fact, you could. Okay,
Yeah, I give Joel a significant look and we understand each other.
fair enough. A tricksy halfling. These things never happen. Anyway, so what would you guys like to discuss next in terms of topics? You were about to hear Jamal regale you with information about her troop. That's sort of where we left off in the conversation before you were so pleasantly or rudely interrupted by a knock on the door. But if there's a topic you guys would like to broach, you've every opportunity to do so now before Jamal begins speaking on that one.
I mean, I'm curious. Mission for 2 ladies. Which 2 ladies?
So you'll ask that to the halfling who is now stuffing his face with cherry cake.
Politely, yeah.
He'll point to his mouth as he's chewing, indicate that a moment, and keep chewing. Anyone else?
I address Jamal. My lady, is this business that you wish to complete before our conversation
Which business? She'll say.
with your new guest?
What business do I have with my new guest? He seems to be wearing the holy symbol of Finder, and he's just given me Olive's name. I trust him like a brother.
Interesting.
Are you Olive's brother? Finnan, was it? He'll continue chewing, stop for a moment and say, "Well, far more complicated than that." And she'll chuckle. Was there a problem? She'll say. You did detect that she very casually accepted this fellow into her home. So you're not detecting something. In other words, your instincts there aren't wrong. That was okay. It's like they knew each other or something. All of a sudden, she made you drink holy water at the door last night, and now this person's just in the house, sitting down, eating the cherry cake.
Did he answer you, Rhiannon? Did you ask out loud?
No, because
What-
he was
Guys
chewing.
Oh.
He's done now, and so he'll turn to you. What was your question, Rhiannon? Just to remind me, not him.
You said you served 2 ladies. Which ladies? Whom would those be?
Ah, yes. The Lady Luck and the Lady Moon Mistress.
I look at Eric and probably Joel. Like, Lady Luck, I know, but like, should I know the other one?
You say moon mistress?
The goddess of navigation and were creatures? He's chewing.
He's talking about Selune.
Mm-hmm.
And not your third mistress, Olive. Rust Kettle, was it?
Well, the pronunciation of that name varies from place to place. Sometimes it's Rusket, sometimes it's Ruskettle. Yes, we're more than friends, less than husband and wife. We've a complicated relationship.
But you took her last name, apparently? Or at least sometimes go by it?
I thought it would be easier for me to give that last name so that Mistress Jamal would know who I was. My name before I met Olive, Wander Whistle, because I wander and I like to whistle. It's really very simple.
That, yeah, I suppose that
Hey, Randy.
tracks.
He shoots you a wink when he says that.
Do you wander into dreams, perchance?
Do you wander into dreams, perchance?
At times I do. Yes.
Let us just say, lad, that I have a very good sense that I'm in the right place because I just saw you. Because, well, unlike the rest of your companions, I've seen you before.
Indeed. And where might that have been?
Well, wandering in my dreams, of course.
Oh, well, and you were wandering in mine. Wink.
Okay. So they
That'll get a look.
like that. That'll get a look. It appears
He
as
winked
though...
at me.
Yeah, you guys, I must have missed that. It appears as though Randy and Finn and ADH is silent, have an understanding.
And why, may I ask, do you think you would have wandered into my dream of all dreams?
That's an excellent question, lad. I don't really know you. I'm going to guess, quickly looked you up and down, that you and I share a profession. And that which I serve, or he which I serve, shares that profession as well. And favors. Well, reckless fools like ourselves.
I see. And this, you said that you're serving two ladies. You're here on a mission. What is the purpose that you feel that the two ladies have brought you here to serve?
Oh, the ladies, I believe it's all just about repaying a debt. The mission is for my master. I suppose we could use that term if we wanted to, but he who I have chosen to serve, alongside Song, of course.
Do you mean the God Finder?
Indeed, I do. I wear a symbol around my neck.
We noticed.
I simply asked for clarification. You have many that you serve, it seems.
Well, most people are smart enough to realize that there are many gods, and so it is reasonable to give them each their due in turn. Does that not make sense to you?
I agree.
It makes perfect sense, certainly.
There are many gods indeed, like Elm, Aminator.
Aminator. Now that's a word. That's a name I
Aminator.
haven't heard in a long time.
Well,
Again, I'll look over it. Randy's just like, why are you doing that? Like, just give him that look. Like, why?
our friend knows a great deal about a great many things.
Yes.
I'm a bard. I know a little bit about a lot of things.
That might be a better way to put it.
I wouldn't want to overstate my capabilities after all. I suspect I'm here more than anything to advise you, rather than, I don't know, engage in vigorous swordplay. I leave that to you.
What sort of advice would you offer?
At the moment, the cherry bread is magnificent. If you haven't had any,
I'll take a piece. Sure.
So
quite good. It's quite good.
we're sort of all ending up with like mentorship. Joel, can you think of anybody? You seem like you're the only one who doesn't have like guidance now.
This is true. No, I do not think anyone from my vision or dream is. We have not encountered them yet, at least.
Jamal is just watching and absorbing your conversation, so we are out loud in front of her here. Just be aware of that.
Yeah.
I actually did have a question I would like to ask Mistress Jamal.
Sure.
Mistress Jamal, it's
Just
it's
call
fairly
me Jamal.
obvious.
I know you
All
all
right.
like to call me mistress,
Okay,
but the
Jamal.
reality is you're my
it
guest.
is it's fairly obvious that you are more than a simple thespian. A simple thespian wouldn't have wizards running messages to them in the middle of the night through vampire-infested sewers, nor would they have garlic hanging at their windows. So, if we're going to leave the children with you, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what kind of situation we may be leaving them in? Not that I don't appreciate the help that you have given us, of course, but if there is likely to be danger here, I would like to know that before we leave the children behind with you.
That is a reasonable question, and I'll do my best to answer it. I suppose it depends in large part on your definition of a simple thespian. I am the leader of ever diminishing troupe of actors, and we do what we can to engage in useful social commentary. I like to also think of myself as someone who tries to help those in most need of it. I'm not deluding myself that I'm not well past my prime, and I'll say I toyed with the idea of retirement altogether after what happened to my leg. I'm a bard, which means that I know, as Finnan said, a little bit about a lot of things. I've lived my life in Westgate, so I know a fair amount about this place. I have some facility with the art, although not as great as I would like, and less than I had before my fight with that vampire. Does that help? It doesn't seem to. Why don't you ask me a direct question, lad?
I'm.
I won't be offended.
What is your what sort of message were you receiving from in the middle of the night from the Giant's Bane Tavern via magical portal and sewers? That does not seem like something that even someone who is something of an adventurer would be. Even if you are a former adventurer, that does not seem like the sort of thing that would be involved
A daily
even
occurrence.
a normal thing for a theater troupe.
Generally uncommon.
You're asking about May and Oldor, who, by the way,
Yes.
are preparing to depart today because they have to scamper back through the gate that you came through that got them here. Let's say, for our purposes, without speaking more than their patron would prefer that I do, that their patron, back in the village on the other side of that gate, is an old friend of mine. He's more than a simple upkeep, or innkeep rather. I think his primary trade is in information, and I'm one source of that for him. As I said, he and I are old friends, so we cooperate and collaborate with each other. And May is someone who I discovered, and so I had a hand in training her so that she could become who she is today. And so she serves as a sort of bridge between the two of us, both in friendship and in information. Is that enough without giving you too much?
Yes. Thank you. That is helpful.
You're welcome, Sir Dwarf. I appreciate your directness.
You appreciate his directness. Perhaps you will appreciate this directness. Do you have enemies in the city who would be a threat to our charges?
Yes. I could not have lived as long as I have here and stood up for the things that I've stood up for over time without having enemies in the city.
How can we be confident that you can defend them should it come to that?
I suppose it would depend on how long you would leave them in my charge and how much more powerful you are and capable you are of defending them than I am. My primary detractors are those in positions of power or those who operate from the shadows, who might want to see me silenced. They've done a pretty effective job of doing that so far, just by eliminating the members of my troop one at a time, and in greater numbers when they sent that creature that was my sweet Sarissa into my house in the middle of the night. I think they're content to let me, she'll gesture in the direction of the garden, wither on the vine beyond that. I can't promise you anything, but I can promise you that this house is tougher than it looks.
I see. I thank you for your honesty and your candidness.
Certainly. You've given me at least some of both of those things. It seemed fair to repay them.
Appreciated. And thank you for telling us about our companions who brought us here leaving. We need to thank them before they go.
Well, if you are here before they depart, they may stop in, and you'll get the opportunity to do that. But I think you said you had some business after we have our discussion.
I would not blame them if they do not stop in. We did cause them a great deal of hassle.
I'm sure that at least May appreciates that she did some good.
Indeed.
So, to business? Or did you
Certainly.
have more questions?
At some point, I know that we should probably at least Well, I don't think any of us have had a chance to bathe since our little excursion.
Mercy has been busy preparing that opportunity for you all, such that when you are done with breakfast here, the first thing that you ladies can do is take advantage of the 2 tubs that we have prepared for you. You gentlemen will have to wait a bit. You understand, of course.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, to business?
To business.
So, she'll eagerly rub her hands. You'll notice that Finnan, with an H, has pulled up a chair next to Randy and is just continuing to sample the fine food. Quite an appetite for a 4-foot-tall individual, but that's not inconsistent with what you would expect from a halfling tall fellow or no. Jamal will say, as I mentioned to you before, I used to have a troupe of 12 to 24 actors who would, particularly on things like holidays, provide an opportunity for us to put on a little bit of theater of a socially conscious nature to try to provide education, awareness, and action for the people on the streets and send a message to those in places of privilege about the sort of thing that they were doing to the powerless. However, as I also mentioned, I'm down to maybe at best half a dozen actors on a good day. And I was hoping to do something to address the current social situation, but despaired at really being able to prior to all of your arrival. That's changed a bit for me, especially with Randonius's knowledge of puppetry. And so I was really hoping that today or tomorrow would be fine. It is Shield Meet tomorrow, after all, a holiday that comes only once every 4 years and has to do a lot about bonds between those who rule and those who are being ruled. That we might be able to put on an interesting performance, say on the steps of the city center, with a bit of social commentary, which would require that I tell you a little bit about what's going on in the city at the moment, so that you, as cheap heroes, might be able to give us your insights. So if you're enjoying your cherry bread.
Indeed.
Okay. So we have a number of people acting at the moment, people in power. They're the nobles, especially House Thalavar. We were promised a free and fair election for Cromark this year, where the people, not just the noble council, finally got a say in how the city was governed. But despite their high-minded words, and in the wake of the death of the prior Cromark and the defeat of the forces that operate from the shadows, corruption and rot seems to have set back in, and those words were just words. And so I'm sad and disappointed, especially in Thistle, to say that there was a Cromark selection earlier in the year, and Durgar the Just, who I suppose isn't the worst of Cromarks, was re-elected to a full term from his partial term, but he's only a figurehead. As the noble houses joust for power, all of their former heads being killed in the year of the banner. His leadership, however, has drawn a number of tyrants to town, and they're setting up an abbey. They've provided some use insofar as they're brawling with the night masks in the street, the reborn night masks in the street, so that's something. But the tyrants are a stiff-necked lot, and so I wouldn't exactly be happy to see them govern the city long-term. Then we have, as I mentioned, the Night Masks, with their dark allies. Sadly, even though I was really hopeful that their power was shattered for good some 4 years ago, they've been reborn and reorganized, and they're again ruling the streets, warring with the tyrants at nights. And it's really the little people, the common man, that have suffered as a consequence of that. And so something needs to be done to show that we're not afraid of them, and that we understand what they're doing and how they're trying to manipulate us. The common man, lied to by the nobles, preyed on by the night masks, with no real mercy or justice from the just tyrants, without any real heroes of their own, are being distracted by the bread and the circuses of a new gladiatorial arena that's been built outside of town by moneyed interests called the Arena of the Quivering Thumb. It's disgusting, frankly.
What a distasteful name.
And
I do not further elaborate.
fair enough. You are not called upon to do so. And
I didn't name it.
so, yes, you didn't. And so I'm hoping that in whatever performance we can concoct, that we can try to wake people up to these facts and give them a bit of hope. Maybe a cheap hero that they can look up to, hold on to, see as someone who might champion them. Now I have every reason to believe that such a cheap hero has recently entered town, and why, as late as last night, was performing acts of justice and kindness on the streets. At least that's what I was told by both yourselves and May and Oldor.
Oh, I'm gonna
You're
slowly
referring to
turn my
perhaps
head. Slowly
The goddamn
turn my head,
Shadow
look at
Bane?
Eric.
Yes, indeed. Someone who I think would make a dashing figure as a puppet. Don't you think?
I am certain that is the case. Under the hands and guidance of one so talented on the stage as yourself, lady.
Why, thank you. Flattery will get you almost everywhere.
I suppose a hero needs someone to stand against in such a performance.
Oh, there are no shortage of individuals to stand against.
Are you thinking allegory, or are you just going to go ahead straight out and name names?
Well, what I've done in the past is I've typically used costumes and imagery to send messages about various noble families or groups. For example, the various noble families that are squabbling over coin and using the present Cromark as a fool right behind his back or under his nose would do that in disguise on the stage, made up in fashion that is designed to mimic the known sigils of their houses. So we have House Goldar's Black Hawk, House Thorsar's Blue Hand, House Erdo's Cyclops, House Thalavar's Feather, House Vamos's Grey Hand, House Malavar's Red Sun, and House Agathal's Weight and Scales. That sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, indeed.
People are being distracted by gladiators, so we'd want to do something with that, ideally. Fiends are hunting the night. That gives us a chance to do something with that, ideally. And then we have our cheap heroes. At least that's where I was at. Keep in mind, I've only had since last night to engage in my plotting, and I was really hoping that all of you might have some creative suggestions, perhaps after you've bathed.
Again, you mean? I should definitely bathe again.
Yes, I wasn't going to say anything, but probably for the best.
Twice for you. I think you've only scraped yourself clean so far.
Your servant did help, my lady. But
She is very
there was
helpful
more
in
waiting
quite a number of
necessary.
ways.
Indeed. Did you mean to comment upon the Tyrans in some way?
Yes, ideally I would. There is a set of Tyran armor hereabouts. I
Is
should look
there?
meaningfully over at Joel.
Oh, is that what I'm wearing? Okay.
It's got a
And-
symbol of Tyr on the chest.
It's got a hammer on it?
I think Tyr is Scales Justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the symbols incorporate a hammer as well, but
Correct.
it depends.
Yeah, the balance bait resting on a hammer
Right, got it.
is, I believe.
You are correct.
Yep.
You are correct.
And
Right.
I suppose commentary on the night masks.
Oh, I have costumes for them. I've used those before.
They do seem to be a long-running theme of Westgate culture, as I understand it.
Sadly so. As I said, I was really hoping that we had broken their power a few years ago, but here we are.
Evil is never-ending, constantly respawning.
Finnan, where the H is silent, will pipe up and say, I have a decent singing voice from between bites of what he's eating, and I'm pretty good on the pipes. I'd be happy to lend my assistance to your performance in either of those two ways. Why Why, thank you, Finnan, she'll say.
I feel comfortable volunteering Randonius's musical talents.
Randoni?
Absolutely. In any way that I can.
Yeah. I'll actually
Assist.
speak up a little bit too. I'm no bard, but I have a decent singing voice and I can play the flute.
Nice.
Oh wait, do I have to have a decent singing voice?
Oh, heavens no,
Well,
she'll
that
say.
Depends on the part
good.
you're playing.
Okay.
Can you project though? I think the key.
Magic can assist with that, she'll say.
I'm projecting all the time.
If only they knew to laugh at that, but sadly the other two people in the room just went right over their head.
A question. So I know you want to present. Basically, your goal is to stir the spirits of the common people, to raise their awareness of this, so that they are not being tricked and distracted with the games, but realize that they need to take action and rise up to fight for their own interests.
Yes.
And you hope that they will rally behind the symbol of Shadowbane. Does Shadowbane need to actually be a person that like would be elected to anything, or can they just be a symbol? Because
in my experience, cheap heroes make their best use as symbols rather than individuals wielding power.
That's good. Okay, so if Shadowbane were sort of not actually in the picture for very long, it's the symbol of Shadowbane that would be more important.
That is reasonable. Did you have something specific in mind? It sounds like the kernel of an idea.
So I would imagine a helmet and a mask is the best choice.
Yes, we typically go about masked or cloaked.
I'm having a V for Vendetta moment. What if we distributed Shadowbane masks to dozens of people and they could all...
I am not sure what the V for Vendetta is, she'll say.
Oh, it's an epic tale of a common hero, cheap hero in our world.
Place that we come from, far away.
And you would create a mask of this Shadowbane. She's looking over at you, Eric. Duplicate it. Paper would really be our only option with this little time. And distribute them about, say, to children.
I suppose so.
That's a clever
I'm not
idea.
saying we need to do that. I was just a thought.
Either that
That's
or
an idea.
Have it be like a distinctive helmet that Shadowbane has, and then like have that in a symbol to draw on things. Because I'm thinking like it's sort of efficient to have a campaign that you can like scratch it on walls or like make it independence or whatever.
There is the
I mean, should I say
helmet,
it? Should I say what we're using as our example for Shadowbane? I don't know if Eric, you like to go that way with Shadowbane.
It's fine. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, if, for instance, we were to choose some sort of heraldic animal, say perchance a bat, that provides a symbol for.
She means that hypothetically.
Cherry
bread is wonderful.
There are bats about. Yes. This is the coast after all. There are a number of caves hereabouts.
But I mean, not necessarily a bat, but some kind of animal that is an example. That we won't have giraffes, because otherwise I was thinking like, what is Shadowbane? Shadowbane is extremely tall. But,
yeah, and a bat might be confused for vampires, so
well,
or other demonic creatures about.
Taking it back.
You make a point there. Yes.
I think the helmet might be a sufficient symbol. But if we make the helmet look like
with a in silhouette, looks like something that you could have a pendant or something.
Right.
And Shadowbane is a servant of Helm, so a helm would probably be a good.
Oh, is that true? She'll say.
Yes. So it is.
The god of guardians.
Indeed.
We talked about that and your faith.
Was I not supposed to reveal?
You saying that out loud?
Yeah, just
No,
look.
no, I'm just internally. I'm like, I just
Okay.
keep seem to be saying the wrong things.
We just glance over at Randy and we're like,
Yeah.
yep, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, no,
Roll with it.
You're,
Yeah.
Randy,
Yeah.
you're
Fine.
among friends here. You're among friends here.
Yeah.
So Jamal, what
No,
what
Randy,
is
it's
the-
working out great. Don't worry about it.
What is the goal that you are trying to get? Is there a specific action you are trying to get the people to undertake?
I'm trying to
Is
get
the
them
goal
to
that-
understand that the elections that were just forced on them were a farce, that their Cromark is being manipulated from behind the scenes by the wealthy, and that the Tyrans, while they're combating the Night Masks in the street, are really just brawling to everyone's woe as opposed to their benefit. If I could
Shit.
communicate one simple message, but that there is hope, and that hope is in the form of a hero of the people.
Shadowbane is the guardian of Westgate, the guardian of the people of Westgate, not the instances of power and the people of wealth and means, but the people who dwell within the city. Everyone.
Excellent.
So,
And very well spoken, I'd say. She seems quite pleased that you've picked up this sword she's laid on the ground.
yeah.
You know, it would make for a most dramatic display, Eric or Elric.
Yes. Amara.
Thank you. Well, I certainly think Shadowbane triumphing over a Night Mask in a deadly duel would certainly get people's attention.
Oh boy.
Are we still talking puppets here, or are we
Yeah,
talking?
Puppets, yes.
Puppets,
I think she
individuals that are
means that-
cloaked and masked, moving
I
about
think
on
she
the
Yeah.
means that
Talking
play act.
Live performers.
Like
Okay.
play acting, not
I'm just-
actually fighting.
Well,
So if
I'm being
hypothetically
dramatic.
Amara is to pass as a night mask for the purposes of our performance, she will definitely need some suitably dark armor and a mask.
She'll
Yeah, better.
She'll smile when you say that and say, "The armor upstairs may be a slightly tight fit, but I think you'll make your way into it if you need to use it. Just keep in mind that it is still owned by someone I know."
I'll keep that in mind. I'll take good care of it.
That's all I'd ask.
She will honor it, I'm sure.
I think certainly for this, you did say you had some essentially stage weapons up there as well. Yes,
I do.
Certainly
Both-
wouldn't want to
both
use live
real
steel.
weapons and stage weapons of all sorts are available
Wow.
here in the house.
I saw a few real swords, but the kind of weapon I had in mind, you didn't seem to have a real one of. The rapier.
Yes, they're a common weapon in Westgate, particularly amongst the nobility. I have a number of stage rapiers.
Perfect.
Everything the dashing swashbuckler heart requires.
Indeed. And I'm sure we've costumes that can fit all of your needs for what we've talked about so far.
Okay, so what
I
if?
do-
Okay, so if we've got Amara, representing the Night Masks, and I am already in Tyrian armor. What if the two of us are brawling and we're rolling? We set up the fight where we are rolling around, wounding or knocking down a bunch of other people who are innocent bystanders, and then Shadowbane comes in and breaks it up, putting us both in our place.
That seems reasonable.
Okay, so that's some of the groups we're looking to lampoon. Just need the nobles now. And the arena, I guess?
Gladiators, warriors of some kind or another, those are easy to do. I could probably gather between 6 and 8 of what's left of my troop. And I could have a couple of them dressed as gladiators, the remainder dressed as members of various noble families, if that will help.
I look over at Rhiannon.
What?
I wonder if
I'm-
you might don the clothing of a noble.
Certainly among us, you have a
Eric?
particularly regal mane.
I will say that is a in character mistake, and then I will correct Elric.
Okay.
That's fine.
Can you talk like yourself?
I am talking
Please?
like myself. Yes, sure.
Um,
In
I
front of the halfling? Anyway,
well, apparently he's going to be around being the
Through a
mentor for a
bite
while.
of food, he will say, "Tall fellow."
in front of the tall fellow, indeed. Rhiannon, you pass well as a noble, and you have in the past, I believe, yes?
Fine. I'm not Artemisia. Jesus Christ. All right.
Are you going to
Artemisia
say
was a
both
friend of
those
ours.
things
Don't
out
worry
loud?
about it.
Okay. The voice in your head will pop in when you make that statement.
Okay.
It'll hiss slightly and say, "Is he goading you?"
Not really. I'm just trying to get you involved.
And this is like I'm saying it to the voice, so I'll be quiet. but
Yeah,
if
you do.
want
You
to hear
do. You
anything
do
out loud.
that when you let me know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's my fault, not his. I doubt it's something he's doing on purpose.
Very well.
Um,
Just be aware that I'm here if you need me. I certainly don't want to repeat that degree of pique on your part.
Burn
And
them.
I'll say,
Burn
I
them all.
think we need to keep in mind that too that we're talking about a performance. We're not talking about being ourselves. We're talking
Yes,
about
yeah. I have no objection to playing whatever part. I just don't understand why in particular I'm a shoo-in for the noble, but I don't have combat abilities particularly. So
We just have the other parts covered, I guess.
yeah, so which is fine. Sure. I'll do nobility.
You
Or you
could.
could do special effects.
This is Jamal. You say that, Joel, but Jamal says you could, with my help, probably pass for Lady Thistle.
Ah.
And I guess my role would be sort of the narrator or the chorus who, like,
Well, you're the puppet master, Brandonius.
introduce and then. Oh, okay.
You're the
Well,
only
and-
one here, other than myself, with puppet skills. So you and I together have to run 4 at a time. The puppets.
So would we be doing puppets, and then they would come on stage in front of the puppets and have the duel and
It
perform?
is
and
a
we would set
theater
up.
where we have people all around us, and so we will be up on the steps of the city center, and a crowd will gather. Trust me, I'm quite good at gathering crowds. Perhaps you can help me with that, Finnan. He'll nod through a bite of food. You'll notice the food has been precipitously decreasing in volume since he began consuming
He's
it.
eaten a lot.
In fact, you're really only down to about 20% of the food remaining. Just in case, so if anybody wants to get, hey, wait a minute, a last bite of something, now's your moment.
Yeah, I think Amara, I think I will go and at least get a couple of things and just kind of,
Gotcha.
enjoy them.
So Jamal will return to saying, so people will be able to see us from all around us. The only thing that will be blocking us from behind is the building of the city. So from 3 sides or more, they'll be able to look up at us. So we could have people cloaked, which is what I've done before, puppets to represent certain roles. The common man is good as puppets because they're small in comparison to the power of those that we would cloak and have move about us. But I'm deferring to your creative genius here.
A question, Jamal. In your discussion of the politics of the city, you did not mention Lady Thistle by name.
I didn't.
What is your view of her and her influence?
You can tell this is a sore subject with Jamal. She sort of puts her head down in a slightly saddened way.
Now, her, I'm goading a little bit.
Yes, I get that. Yeah. She'll say, if you'd asked me that question a year ago, I might have answered it a little bit differently than I'm going to answer it to you now. Thistle and I thought were friends. Although we haven't spoken in some time. I believe that she really believed in sharing the power of the nobles with the common man. And I want to believe that by virtue of the fact that there have been changes in her household and she's grown into her power and she's trying to keep the council together, that she's compromising where she needs to, and that she's still the same person that I knew. I wish she hadn't started courting that damn Cormyrean. Things have somewhat gone south from there.
What Cormyrean is this?
I forget his name, but he's some ne'er-do-well nobleman from a Cormyrean noble family that showed up in the city a year or two ago. Good-looking fellow.
Yeah, they
I
always
have a
are.
proposal for the puppets. I feel like making the puppets the common people sends the wrong message in the sense that we're saying that they are puppets.
Yes, yes.
I think maybe if we were to have the puppets be Durgar the Just, like the leader of the Tyran faction, the maybe the whoever runs the arena, maybe one of the prominent noble house leaders, that kind of thing. So they are just talking heads in the background trying to manipulate the situation, and our heroes come forward as true people.
I like that. I like that a lot. I knew you had a talent here. Finnan with
And
a
then-
PH will give you a little nab in the side with his elbow and go,
Yeah, and Finnan could represent the common people. A tall fellow who the others feel they can trot upon, but he show them otherwise. And what is we have seen in the past when the common people are roused, that sometimes that can lead to a great destruction if all of that anger and energy is not channeled in a particular direction. So what is the action that the common people can take with all of the anger and passion that we are rousing with
how
this
do
play?
they hold the nobles to account? That's a very good question.
Is there a representative that you want to see as Cromark in place of Durgar the Just?
I can assure you politics is not my profession. I mean, if you had asked me a year ago, I would have told you Lady Thistle.
And this
Well,
circles
when we
back to my question, which is how do we intend to present Lady Thistle? If my friend is to portray Lady Thistle upon the stage, I would not wish to see her demeaned or shown to be a villain unless that is
Fine.
entirely
Somebody's
our
got to play
intention.
the villains in this as
I
necessary.
feel perhaps
Well-
our two purposes are coming together here in the sense of we wished to visit Lady Thistle anyway. So perhaps when we go to visit her on the matter of her child, we also can speak to her on the matter of would you be willing to step up and represent the people?
Should not ask that directly, but yes.
No, yeah, or guide her in that direction.
Yes, and Rhiannon might derive some useful motivation and insights into presenting her.
Insight.
Or-
Well,
Or if she just happens to be there and wants to step up and make a totally spontaneous political speech at the end of it, announcing that she's wants to be Cromark.
Well planned, totally spontaneous speech.
Right,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
well, I'm
We could
impressed.
arrange that.
I'm impressed by the depths of your collective manipulation, she'll say. You're welcome to try
little
whatever you
practice.
like. I'm deferring to you here.
So
Well-
perhaps
No.
we should go talk to Lady Thistle. And
Yeah, talk to her
See,
today and then do the performance tomorrow as necessary.
One more thing. We should keep in mind not to take it too far. We would not want to endanger Lady Jamal or her troop any more than they already are in danger.
Agreed.
So, Jamal, if you believe that anything we are doing is going too far or will provoke the wrong forces, please tell us so.
Oh, don't worry, I'll share that. Although, as I've said, I've been fairly brave over the years, and I'm an old woman. I'm not sure there's much more they can do to me at this point. Taking away my voice is the worst thing.
Very well.
So, I see Mercy at the door, which tells me that the baths for at least 2 of you are ready. However,
That's a good-
I
good
also
thing.
remember that you had some desire to poke around in my basement. I don't know if you want to do that now or later. Out of character or out of game from the DM's perspective, at the conclusion of
Joel
our
and-
last session, you told her there was probably a secret door in her basement to crypts
Oh,
filled
yeah.
with vampires that she might want to, I don't know, brick up or something. And so
We did mention that,
She
yeah.
suggested that you had a dwarf amongst you, who then suggested that you had an elf amongst you, who might want to, I don't know, take a look at that. That's why she's saying this.
okay. I was gonna be like, well, maybe they could go do that. Well, the bath. Okay, I guess I gotta go help with that. All right.
I mean, I'm gonna go to the bath.
I like that. I'm going to go to that.
I definitely need to take another bath.
Well, so you got to go back last, Elric, because then
Yeah,
nobody
I
else can
do.
use
Yeah,
the
exactly.
water.
Water's
so-
going to be awful. Yes.
I'll go last.
Okay, fair
I'll,
enough. So you're welcome to do that now or at your leisure. I'm just mentioning it because you mentioned it.
Bathe first, then basement.
Yep, let's do it.
Because let's go do that.
What if you get filthy in the basement?
We'll deal with that after.
Well, okay. If we find a door, we just won't go through it. We'll just mark it and hang some garlic in front of it and go from there.
Call it
Stack
good.
really heavy things on it.
Come back to We'll come back to it later.
All
While
right.
we're doing it, I'll ask
So-
Jamal. You seem to have access to some resources, and who was it that said they would watch after the babies while we're
Mercy. Myself.
Mercy? I was like,
myself
Misty? Mercy.
Misty. Myself and Mercy while you are away conducting your business today.
Do you have any ability to shield persons from, like, say, location magics and that sort of thing?
I wish I had that kind of skill. You'd need to talk to Mintassin about that. My collection of the art is a bit eclectic at best and ends with power of the third circle.
Okay.
I suppose
Well, I guess
certain
while we're out and
amulets to
about,
that
we can-
effect would be difficult to find.
Yeah. We'll keep
And
our
also
eye out
cost
for
money
something like
that
that.
we don't
Yeah.
have.
Yes, they would cost
Where
money that we don't
one
have.
of them is.
We're not going after that one, Elric.
Yeah, she might come after us.
Yes, she would. You know she would.
We maybe not have
No,
this
I mean-
conversation in front of the NPCs.
You mean in front of the
Maybe
log
don't
fellow?
call them NPCs.
I don't know what that means.
They don't know what that means. All
I'm
right.
pretty sure they could figure out it's not positive.
So I think we were
New
talking
persons to
about-
our community. That's
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were talking about a bath. So I think we have our two volunteers to go first.
Yes.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants the upstairs bath? Who wants the downstairs bath? Do we care?
I don't think there's a preference.
Okay. So Allie, why don't we say downstairs bath, Rhiannon upstairs bath, based on where you guys
Sure.
are in my screen of people that I'm looking at here as a DM. And so Mercy will lead you first, Allie, to the downstairs bathroom, and then Rhiannon upstairs to the upstairs bathroom. It's sort of, think about if you're in a Western and you're bathing in one of those claw feet tub kind of situations, and it's got something on a stick to whatever, and simple soap, and some pleasant oils. And there are these large sort of like linen towels, so that's good to get yourself dry with. Any thought to what you want to wear when you're out of the bath?
I mean,
Probably not.
God.
because I've been I think thinking about this ahead of time, and so I know people were talking about rating the costumes and whatever, and I'm of the opinion that I'm keeping my clothing as much as possible, because I was wearing like a jacket and jeans and athletic shoes and etc. And I want to keep all those. It's not ideal going back in the same dirty jeans, but so, and also undergarments, like the idea of finding comfortable that like fit me is not, no. So probably the only thing that I would be looking for in the costumes would be like a shirt, top, blouse kind of something to swap that out if I can, so that at least that's clean.
There are numerous options there. Like I said, this place probably has all told, north of 200, almost 300 different outfits in it, packed into closets and all space upstairs. So I'm sure you could find something that would fit in most colors, if that's what you wanted. Allie, you actually had acquired reasonably fresh clothing, so you probably could take it off and put it back on again if that's what you wanted to do. Rhiannon, you're saying I want to swap out just the shirt, really? Everything else?
Yeah, or maybe if there's some kind of like over a jacket, not like a coat for work, but a jacket for fashion.
Gotcha. So a
And
vest or something of that kind.
yeah,
Jerkin,
and then
maybe.
wash the stuff and keep it with me. So even though I'm swapping out, I'm still
Yeah.
holding on to my other
Gotcha.
pieces.
Okay, that's fair.
I think I'm curious enough. I kind of want to try on the armor at the very least.
That's reasonable that you would have that curiosity, but in the bath or
Not in the
after?
bath.
Okay, so
After the
after
bath.
you're done. Okay, fair enough.
After I'm done.
So the two of you will undertake that getting clean process, which is delightful because you have not felt really clean in a while now, and sewer was one of the places that you visited, so you will be happy to scrub yourselves clean. And the water is
yes.
actually warm because it's been recently heated and dumped into this bath for you all, so it's actually quite delightful. Meanwhile, lads, where are you guys going to go, and what are you going to do?
I am going to see if I can get an actual suit of armor somewhere.
Okay, so you're going to dig through the stuff to see if there's something in here that will fit you by way of a suit of armor.
Because I gotta wait to take a bath until the end anyway. So,
Okay. Randy? Joel?
I am actually looking for a weapon. I returned Eric's sword to him when I was holding Vindicator, so I actually do not have a weapon right now other than my
yeah.
crowbar and my hand sledge.
Okay. I have a list of those things that are real weapons upstairs in a moment.
Okay.
Okay. Randy?
I had two things in mind. One was, so I've finished feeding the babies, and I'm like handing them off to Mercy, and I'm like fretting over them and telling her all the little things that I've learned over the last couple of days, like that they like and that they don't like, and
Yep.
when they'll take their food and all that kind of stuff. And I'm having a hard time letting them go, and I'll be like, we have to hit the road because we got to find a way back home. But you brimstone angels stick together. Go, go, go. And I'll hand them off. And then,
Finnan, when
very
he
nice.
detects that you are doing that, will whistle a little ditty to provide you with backup.
oh, that's sweet.
Oh.
You'll
And
notice
then-
that you'll notice both girls will coo when you two perform for them.
Aw. And then I guess I'll turn to Finnan and say, thank you very much for that assistance.
You're welcome.
And I've heard that persons such as yourself and I might be able to inspire our companions to greater success and ability with our abilities. I was wondering if you could sort of teach me the trick of that while we wait for my.
I would be happy to do just that. What mediums of song, story, and performance do you know, lad?
I'm mostly a writer of chapbooks, but I also I like to sing particular songs from the where are we 1490 well we're
Do you
13
want to say that?
1370.
1372.
oh, from the 1280s. I love the 80s songs, the old classics. And and I bring out my little drum, which I've lost my little drum that I had, but
Yes,
and I like
remember you
to
used
sometimes
it.
just
Thump, thump, thump.
keep a little beat to it. But those are my main modes of performance. I imagine in a battle, a song would be best.
Yeah, in a battle, a
Song
song
to
would be
inspire
best.
my-
Although drums are good. Your drums are slightly small, so it might be hard to be heard over the din of the battle. But if you could
Yeah.
use the drums to keep time while you were singing in a rhythmic way, that could provide your companions with that sort of like constant support of that rhythm as a backdrop, that would help. It also helps to try to dispel any fear that they might have about an opponent that they are facing, to sort of cut that opponent down with words and song, to use ridicule or humor, to try to make that opponent less fearsome to them, so that it might fill their hearts with courage.
Great, thank you.
If you'd like,
And
we can
might
try
this ability
that.
be used like for before we go on to the performance to like enhance their ability to perform confidently and things like that? Can it be used outside of battle?
It can for other things. say you're marching a long day on the trail and spirits are flagging, or people are tired at the end of a long day and you're trying to get them to concentrate on a task at hand, or you're even just trying to lift spirits broadly. Those are all things that it can be used for.
Great, thank you.
I've an eclectic bunch of skills, and I'd be lying to you if I tried to tell you, and I do agree, Eric and Rhiannon behind the scenes, I would be lying to you if I tried to tell you that I'm just a bard, because I'm not. As I mentioned, and he'll put his hand meaningfully on the symbol around his neck, I'm also a servant of the gods as well. So I have the power, and I have some facility with that. Is that something that speaks to you in any way, lad? After all, you were in my dream.
Indeed. I would not be opposed to forming a relationship with a being who could assist me in both in helping my friends as well as perhaps making the world a better place, a more just and increasing the well-being of all persons within it.
That which I serve very much supports exactly that worldview. Tries to find situations that are falling apart and bring them back together and blossom them into new life. Also creation and, well, the acts of reckless, foolhardy knaves appeal to the God Finder. So I think you might have a home there. I'm happy to do what I can to teach you about the faith. I will say Finder has very few priests.
I'm not sure that I would ever call myself a priest, but I would happily, as I said, form a mutually beneficial relationship with such a being.
Well, you couldn't call yourself a priest unless you were called to that calling anyway. So I suppose it's best to just start you with a little bit of knowledge. If there's anything I can do to spread knowledge, I'm happy to do just that. And on that note, we'll take our first break.
Yes. All right.
All right, we'll
Okay.
be back.